personally feel like so many people are trying to live up to these imaginary lock rules, and in the process all you do is start to resent your own lock journey. And that's why people easily get triggered or upset when they see people doing things that are unconventional with their locks. Hey everybody, it's Sharmel. Welcome back to Locs Lux Lifestyle. Welcome back to another video. If you enjoy lock content, lifestyle content, self-help and self-development content, then make sure to hit that subscribe button because I do a little bit of all of that. But today I am back with another chit chat video. This is going to be like a lock chat because we are going to be talking about locks because that is my genre. But yes, I don't know what this video is going to be titled just yet because I have a few things that I want to talk about in this video, but let's get into it.
As the sun shines on all of my glory, my flaws don't look so bad at all. What was I so afraid of?
Is my camera crooked? Do it look crooked to y'all? So first I kind of just want to do like a follow-up to the last, I don't think it was my last lock chat video, but to my like rant video. I think I titled it "Please Stop Doing This, Lock Extensions Not a Journey" video. I think I posted that almost 2 months ago and I'm still getting comments on that video. I haven't had a chance to respond or acknowledge every comment on that video, but I do just want to acknowledge that I see you all's comments. Some of you guys made great talking points in some of your comments. However, I do feel like it was still a couple of people being obtuse, and I didn't have any notes for that video. I think I said that in that video. I was definitely just venting and ranting, but if I didn't make myself clear in that video, just to reiterate, because I feel like people still have a hard time grasping this concept, I personally do not care if a person has natural locks and lock extensions. I don't care how they chose to start their locks. At the end of the day, it's nobody's business. However, that video was mainly to address like the mean girl behavior as it relates to lock extensions. So whether you like lock extensions or not, I personally don't care. You have the right to like what you like. Speaking for my space and just other spaces that I see, if you see something titled lock extensions, if somebody's being outward and forward about their process, you don't have to be offensive. You don't have to throw insults towards people just because you don't like it. You know, we can have a conversation and a dialogue about why certain things may or may not be problematic to some people within the community, but the mean girl behavior, it ain't cute. That's basically what I was trying to say in that video. However, some of you guys, like I said, you did leave some good points. So this is kind of going to be like a follow-up to that video, just kind of responding to some of the comments that I've seen. I also just want to talk about some other like thoughts that I had as it relates to like locks, lock extensions, my personal lock journey, the lock community. I actually pinned a comment and I responded to that pinned comment. So some of the stuff, if you've seen that comment, may sound a little redundant. But yes, I just kind of want to expound on some of those thoughts. So one of the things that I see kind of like reoccurring as it relates to like lock extensions and why people don't like them is because, you know, historically in some cultures, you know, locks have a deeper meaning than just it being hair, right? And I think that that's fair. I think that's a fair argument. However, I think we can acknowledge like the cultural history of locks, but we can still appreciate like the innovation that's taking place today. Again, just because someone has lock extensions doesn't mean that you have to go that route. If that's not for you, it's not for you. But as Black women with hair, like we are creative with our hair, and I don't see anything wrong with being innovative with your hair. So another reoccurring thing that I see is the disdain for locks being trendy. And I will definitely say that within the last 2 to 3 years, locks have definitely become trendy, for lack of better words. I can also understand how some people may feel away, especially people who have had locks for years and years and years. So I can understand like you've been wearing your locks all this time, and now all of a sudden people are hopping on the bandwagon and getting locks and celebrating locks and all those other things when you've been doing it for a long time and everybody looked over you. I can definitely understand that. I know some people hate on trends because a lot of times trends, they come in and they go, but at the same time, Black women have been dogged for years and years and years. Black women are constantly dogged for the decisions that they make with their hair. Whether they wear wigs, weaves, relaxers. Even if you are natural, if you are type 4 hair, a lot of the times you get dogged as well for the texture of your hair. So although locks may be trendy at this point in time, I also think that it's beautiful to see because it's a natural style that didn't get the attention that it did at some point. And I don't know, just for me, like, I just can't be mad at Black women choosing to embrace a natural hairstyle, a style that's not always appreciated, and more women wanting to do that. Like, I don't know, like, some trends I can understand being mad at, but the lock trend, I'm not mad at Black women locking their hair. Black women look beautiful with locks, whether they're real, fake, or in between. Black women look beautiful with locks. You know, people will make comments about Black women either upholding or trying to live up to European standards, but then on the other hand, y'all also talk about Black women who try to go the natural route as well. So it's like, damn, you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. We can't talk about how the beauty standards are skewed, but then also get mad at Black women for trying to level them out by embracing natural and cultural hairstyles. As far as locks being a trend, one thing that I do agree with and that I will say is that people need to do their research before they jump into it. So I do feel like some people, like, they see so many women rocking their locks on social media and they get inspired to start their journey without doing the proper research, and once they start their journey, they struggle or they badmouth the experience because they didn't do their research. So I will agree with that, with locks being trendy and why it can be problematic with people just jumping headfirst and not understanding the process overall. Another thing that I want to address, because I feel like it's another thing where people are being obtuse, but maybe I just didn't articulate myself properly. So I'll chalk it up to me not articulating myself properly. The whole lock extensions are not a journey. So I'm not gonna go down that whole page again, but the point that I was trying to make, obviously someone who opts for instant locks or lock extensions, their journey is not going to be the exact same as somebody who goes the traditional route, right? I don't think that that needs to be said, right? Obviously, they are two different routes. However, most people who opt for either lock extensions or instant locks, they want locks, but they're just taking a different route to get them. Even if you get lock extensions, most people who get lock extensions, they don't even keep their lock extensions forever. They get their lock extensions, but they still have to go through a process of locking the loose hair that grows from their scalp. Separate processes, but the goal is to have locks, and that's why I said it's a journey for the individual, whichever way that they choose to take. I made the statement in that video, same destination, different journey. The goal is to have a head full of locks, but people will take different methods and measures based on their lifestyle and things that work for them to get there. So yes, it's not the exact same journey. I don't think I've ever in any of my videos said that lock extensions in the traditional way it's the exact same journey, because it's not. And being that I've done both of them, I understand that they're not the same journey. However, it is a journey to the individual, whichever way that they choose to do, and we don't have the right to tell people what is and isn't a journey for them. Again, you don't have to like lock extensions. You don't have to, but I also think that people are extremely dishonest about the reality of being a Black woman in America and having natural hair. People get so stuck in their own world, their own lives, and the way that they do things that they don't really take into consideration that people truly live completely different lives than you. I feel like a lot of people like to just throw around things like you just need to be patient and start your locks the traditional way, and they don't realize that that doesn't work for everybody. Like, people get lock extensions for a variety of reasons, whether it's impatience, whether it's health reasons, whether it's lifestyle reasons. Like, The reality is that some people don't have a year to dedicate to allowing their locks to form naturally. Whether you choose to believe it or not, a lot of people don't. And I feel like one of the reasons locks have become trendy is because we've been in a pandemic for the last 2 years where many people were confined to their homes and they didn't have to leave. That's one of the reasons why I started mine, is because I felt like I could go through the process on my terms. Like, depending on the length of your hair, the texture of your hair, there's so many different factors. And we're not about to sit here and act like the Crown Act wasn't just created, what, a couple of years ago, and it still hasn't even been passed in many states. Like, people, I just feel like a lot of people are just really dishonest about black hair in general. Growing up, like in my teens, in my early 20s, I was very experimental with my hair. I felt very free with my hair, and way before I was locked. However, once I entered the workforce and I was working in corporate America, the way that I styled my hair definitely toned down, right? I feel like people aren't honest about the reality of living in the world and the reality of like the process of locks and how one may feel going through that process in a very public space. I have always worked with predominantly others. Every job that I had, there was maybe a handful of black people that I worked with. And the way that you're made to feel about your hair in those spaces, whether anyone outwardly says anything, come on y'all, I just feel like people, like, we're so easy to talk about people with lock extensions or question the way that people go about their journeys, and we don't really take into account the actual lifestyles that they live. We see stuff on social media and the internet, but the internet is just that. It's the internet. Once you close your phone and go and live in the real world, it's the real world, and people are making decisions based on how they live in the real world and what works for them. And this is something that I always preach in my videos, but we need to allow more space and grace for people to go through their processes the way that they choose to go through them. And then another thing that I want to talk about that I've been kind of like noticing is that I'm trying to find a way to say this, but I feel like locks have become like a personality trait, if that makes sense. And I don't really like that. I watch a lot of lock content, and I just look at some of the things that people say and do, and it's like there's this idea that once you start your locks that you have to be a certain kind of way, think a certain kind of way. And yeah, like, too many people use their locks as their ultimate identifier, and I don't agree with that. So I love my locks. I have thoroughly enjoyed my lock journey, and I love making lock content. However, I am so much more than my locks. I'm so much more than the lock content that I put out. And I think people immerse themselves too much in their locks, and sometimes they make it deeper than what it needs to be. And I'm not talking about from a cultural standpoint. I'm talking about everyday regular degular schmegular people who had loose hair 3 months ago, and all of a sudden they start their lock journey and they're just like this whole different person. Now I get it, people can change, you can do what you want to do, but this whole idea that like once you get locks then all you're about is just locks and everything is just locks and you're that, and then anything that doesn't go along or contradict to locks, then somehow you're not really a lock person. And it's just some people just make it much more deeper than it needs to be. I will say that through this process of locking my hair, I have absolutely learned so many new things about myself. However, I will never reduce myself to just my locks. And I understand like the newfound love that you have for your hair and the experience and just being able to see everything that it can do during the process. However, also remember that you don't have to reduce yourself just to locks. Like, if I were to cut my locks today, I would be the same person. I understand loving your locks. You should love your hair. You should love the process. You should love the journey. But starting locks should not cause you to do like a complete personality switch. That's just how I feel. You should be the same person like at the core with your locks, or if you didn't have locks. That's just how I personally feel. The next thing I want to address is this idea of struggle. So this is something that I've seen in the comments of my rant video, and this is also something that I commonly see on other lock extension videos, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. I always see this recurring thing of struggle. People say they don't like lock extensions because people cheat the process, or they don't go through the ugly phase. They don't have to struggle with learning how to love their hair. And I said this in a comment, and I'm going to say it again. As a community, I feel like we can't commonly call something ugly. We can't commonly say that something's a struggle and then get mad at other people when they don't want to experience that struggle. Like, be for real. Be FFR, okay? If you're constantly saying like,
oh yeah, I was so ugly in my lock journey at the beginning stages. Oh yeah, this was such a struggle. You should do it.
Like, who wants to go through that process after you complain about it? And I understand being open, honest, and transparent, because yes, part of the journey is hard. I'm not delusional. Like, I understand that part of the journey is hard. And I think in life in general, I'm not saying that we never experience struggle. Struggle, yes, is a part of life, unfortunately. It's one thing to struggle outside of your circumstance, and it's another thing to voluntarily put yourself through struggle. I just don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair that people can constantly talk about how much of a struggle something is and then get mad at people when they say, I don't want to go through that process. Because anybody who's ever truly struggled, they know it's not a fun process. So for me, if somebody says that if they know mentally they can't handle that process, I'm not gonna say, oh, you're weak, you don't deserve to have locks because you don't want to willingly put yourself through the struggle. Like, no, I would never say that. I absolutely understand why someone would go the route of getting lock extensions or instant locks, especially when people with locks are always talking about how ugly they feel with their locks, especially in the infancy phases. Like, be for real. Which brings me to my next point, and I think this is the biggest thing that I've learned throughout my lock journey, starting from my starter locks, even now with my lock extensions. The biggest lesson that I've learned during this whole process is that you get out what you put in. Like with most things in life, you are going to get out what you put in. There was one comment on the rant video that someone left, and I'm gonna paraphrase it because I don't remember everything that she said, but she said something to the effect of, to be honest, you look bomb right now, and there's people like me who are early on in my journey and I'm struggling. Basically saying that like with lock extensions you're an instant baddie, and that with your baby locks you don't feel as beautiful. I'd be dishonest, and I said it before, there's absolutely a level of ease that comes along with having lock extensions, but this idea that people get lock extensions and then they just automatically look beautiful, I also think is false. And I'm trying to say this in the most humblest way possible because this is not me trying to flex, but at the end of the day, there's a certain level of upkeep that I maintain in general. When I started to struggle with my confidence and things like that, I had to realize that my beauty was not reliant on my locks, and that I'm the total package, right? It's so easy in the lock journey to get so stuck on your hair and hyper fixated on your hair because we've been so conditioned to think like this is a struggle, this is going to be hard, my hair is unruly during this process, that we kind of sit in that. I know for me, I definitely went through phases, especially when I wasn't all the way confident about my hair, or I was bored or frustrated with my hair. I would go through phases where I would kind of let myself go, for lack of better words, because I would feel like, oh, I can't do nothing with my hair anyway, so what's the point of trying? However, if you've watched any of like my locks and femininity videos, I talk about how it's not just your hair. So if you're looking at people with lock extensions, especially if you're looking at them in like a done up form on their best self, then obviously, yes, you may feel invalidated by looking at them. However, I see so many women who look just as bomb with their starter locks. I feel like we spend so much time hyper hyper focused on other people's journeys, constantly comparing our locks to other people's locks, that in the process all we do is devalue our own hair. And my whole thing is that if you need other people to struggle with you in order to feel beautiful, in the end, do you really feel beautiful about yourself? Like, people will always talk about how the journey is personal, and if it's truly personal, what other people do with their hair and their locks shouldn't invalidate the way that you feel about your hair and your locks. Which brings me to my last point for this video. Some of us are honestly just too invested in other people's journeys. I personally think that there's space for everyone to share their journeys, to share their experience. Whether you have traditional locks, whether you have loc extensions, whether you started with coils, whether you started two strips, whether you have micro locks, sister locks, instant locks, whatever you decide to do, I think that there's space for all of us. And with that space, we have to remember that all of our journeys don't have to align. It's this video that I've been seeing circulating on IG within this last week, and it was somebody with like long locks who cut their locks to like, I don't know, bra strap shoulder length, and multiple loc pages posted the video, and I kid you not, in the comments on every page that posted it, people were just so up in arms about this lady cutting her locks, and for the life of me, I could not understand why. Yeah, it just made me realize how we spend so much time admiring things about people, and we oftentimes put those things on a pedestal that those people themselves don't put on a pedestal. I just seen comments saying like, oh, I would never grow my locks that long just to cut them. Or what's the point of growing locks if you're just gonna cut them off? Or what? It was just so many people questioning why this lady was cutting her hair. Like, we all have different lifestyles, y'all. Like, outside of hair, there's things that we do in our own personal lifestyles that certain things don't work for us. And yeah, some of us are just too invested in other people's loc journeys. And one thing that I constantly say, like in any of my hair tutorials and things like that, anytime I share my loc experience, I always try to reiterate that it's my experience. This is what I like to do. This is what my hair likes. You are more than welcome to try it, but I always recommend you tailoring it so that it fits you. You do not have to copy everything I do. You don't have to do everything the exact way that another person with locks does. You know, we are all individuals and we can all learn from each other, but at the end of the day, we should be doing what's best for us and not what we think is best because other people do it. When I look back at my journey and think about like the times where I was struggling, it's because I was trying to live up and incorporate these different loc rules that didn't align with my life. The idea that just because you have locks, like you can't do certain hairstyles, you can't do this, you can't do that. And in that process, I was getting frustrated because I'm somebody who likes to experiment. I'm somebody who likes to try new things. I like change. I like to switch things up. Not saying that you have to do that, but those are things that I like to do. And I don't feel like I have to limit myself just because I have locks. I personally feel like so many people are trying to live up to these imaginary loc rules, and in the process, all you do is start to resent your own loc journey. And that's why people easily get triggered or upset when they see people doing things that are unconventional with their locks. And then lastly, I just think it's important to remember that we are all living in our own time, and just because you may be in one space on your journey doesn't mean that the next person has made it there yet. And you have to remember that you weren't always where you are now, and there were lessons and things that you had to learn to get to where you're at currently. And that doesn't give any of us the right to stick our nose up or look down at others at whatever space they're currently operating in. So that is going to be it for this video, you guys. It was a lot going on, but I feel like this was a little long-winded, but I'm hoping when it's time to edit it, it'll all come together. But thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Snatched by Sharmel, and I will see you all in my next video.